RNG, or is he going to just completely flip the script and going for a full 180 and just try to be solid as a rock and try to survive and try to win the longer games? We are about to find out. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the man who has everything to play for today. A win means we see him in the playoffs. A lose in this best of 3 means it's all over. This is Team Liquid's MaNa.
And in the top left-hand side, the man who has less to play for but a lot to gain, perceptually at least, it is for Blazer, Krystianer. Roddy, do you think we're going to have our first insight with the first 2 units? Do you think MaNa is going to open Stalker Sentry and then we're just going to be like, okay, he's playing the most safe, the most macro approach that he could?
Yeah, I can't believe I'm excited to see which first 2 units come out of the gateway, but yeah, I'm actually curious to see. Normally, I feel like MaNa is not too much of a Stalker Sentry guy. I know he's no stranger to Adept openings, and he's definitely no stranger of the double Stalker opening. But if you are, I always say, if you're Showtime or Neep and you just feel like you want to survive and drag it to the late game, then Stalker Sentry honestly is the most solid opening in PvP. It does have some complications, especially when you go up against certain aggressive one-base openings, but we will see. Now, I have a question for you, Kat. How likely do you think it is that Gang Fu Banda slipped into those DMs of Krystianer this week and be like, yo, bro, if you win, couple beers and a bratwurst on me?
I think if they are friendly, which I don't know that they are, then he's probably definitely cheered him on in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if he offered him some beers, but I wouldn't put it past Gang Fu.
If I was Gang Fu, I'd definitely slide in those DMs and be like, yo, man, please, one time. Come on, you live in Germany now, right? Come on, mate, help a brother out. Anyway, MaNa is going for the double Stalker. Krystianer is going double Adept. Now, obviously, Krystianer could just stay with 2 Adepts, can also be 4, 6, or even 8 Adepts. There are just so many wild things you can do in PvP. Scouting is going to be very, very crucial and important for MaNa.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that is MaNa to some degree still positioning himself as the more defensive player, because like you said, oftentimes he does like the Adepts himself. He does like a layered approach where he uses the Adepts and then follows up with a War Prism to take him into the main and just, you know, has different punches that he throws throughout the game. This time around, the double Stalker is one of the safer approaches. It will beat the Adepts out in the open. It's a matter of if Krystianer can do something to be further annoying. And this pylon's extra annoying against Adepts too, right?
Yep, because it takes forever to take it down, as you guys can see. And it's not just that it takes forever, it gives MaNa vision of the Adepts. It's, oh, the Shade is going to finish up right on top of these Stalkers. This is a guarantee 1 Adept kill for MaNa, unless he, recall, but I still think that's a guarantee. No, it's not. Recall saves it, but it's a lot of damage. But now MaNa knows there are no Adepts on his side of the map, and he's about to pressure with 4 Stalkers against just 4 Adepts, one of them super low. Now with 2 extra Adepts coming out, it's kind of good. For Krystianer, 6 against 4 is a fight he can take, but it's not a fight that you're in love with. On top of that, Krystianer has done 0 scouting in the main base of MaNa, has no idea an Oracle is about to head his way. And I'll be honest, if I see 4 Stalkers, I am not really thinking of Oracle scouts.
Yeah, that is a lot of gas spent, as you are talking about. One of the Stalkers will fall. It looks like Krystianer did a good job to shove the Adept that was weak to the back and wait for those shields to regenerate. But like you said, an Oracle is coming and Krystianer has this many units. MaNa, I wouldn't have minded a recall there, but while he does have, that's sad. So while he does have this Adepts that he's losing, there's, you know, no units really right now. Oh, but there's a shield battery. Very good job by Krystianer.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, Kat. I think he overstayed his welcome a little bit. Losing 1 Stalker is obviously no big deal, but losing 3 out of 4, that's where it's starting to hurt a little bit. The Oracle does find a couple of probes that are bouncing between bases, so they are far away from the shield battery. MaNa gets a double kill, which is somewhat decent, but I still don't think he's in love with it. Now if he gets 4 probes, ooh, you can see that. Did you see the micro being a little bit shaky?
Yeah.
He misclicked once or twice, and that actually made this Oracle take a lot of extra damage. I feel like you can really see that MaNa is playing a very stressful situation here.
Yeah, most definitely. And he, I mean, after losing that many Stalkers, he can't be feeling too good. He doesn't have a shield battery at the natural. He does have a pro patrolling to block those Adepts from going in the main, and the Oracle will do a good job of finding these Adepts and punish one of them at least before the shit goes through.
Really let the stage finish up? The answer is yes, and that means that these probes are very exposed. MaNa is going to take some economic damage. I'm sure Gongfu is loving this because obviously there's no guarantee that these adepts normally find that much. They find another probe that just popped out of the Nexus. Wow, MaNa went triple Oracle. Okay, that's something you almost never ever see in PvP. And I think the main reason he did it is because he was generally concerned about these adepts and not having enough firepower to take care of them otherwise.
Yeah, and Oracles do the extra damage against Adepts. They do really well against them. So Krystianer only has 3 on the map. MaNa now can cross and try to do something in the main of Krystianer, where there is still units ready for these Oracles. So he's going to struggle to find damage. Now adding a shield battery. This Adepts shouldn't do too much more. And Krystianer's actually going to let the Shade finish regardless. How do you like this? I mean, he's already gotten some damage.
I like it a lot because these adepts really fall off over time. Wow, he just got 5 probes for 3 adepts that don't even really matter anymore. MaNa needs to get a lot of damage here, and Krystianer is ready for double Oracle, but he ain't ready for triple Oracle, and I can't really blame him. So Krystianer gets a lot of probe kills, but MaNa gets even more, and he saves each and every single Oracle. This is a big play by MaNa, man. Triple Oracle in PvP, but Krystianer is going up to 3 bases a lot quicker than MaNa. This is a hard one to call so far.
Yeah, it's a very close game. Those Oracles did shoot the sentry once. I thought he might go for it, but MaNa readjusting and going after the probes afterwards paid off big time. Now, Krystianer has pretty good information with this observer, but MaNa, eagle eyes, will spot it.
I'm with you. I don't think it would have been a bad call, right? But triple Oracle to just kill those 2 sentries, because then Krystianer really had no firepower there anyway. One Stalker is not going to kill 3 Oracles. And then by the time that Stalkers finish warping in or Stalkers make their way from the natural to the high ground, I think MaNa would have been able to grab a couple of extra probes afterwards anyways. I think it would have been a decent idea. Just didn't quite work out. MaNa wanted the guaranteed economic damage. I mean, one thing is for sure, Krystianer ain't making it easy on MaNa. I don't know how close these guys are. People often think like, oh, they're both Polish and Protoss, which means they're friends, but there are like 17 really good Polish Protosses, and it's hard to be close with everyone.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, they came up in different eras. MaNa very tight with the Team Liquid boys as well. So Krystianer has come to rise with his own group of practice partners, surely, right? Like kind of the new generation type thing. So if they became friendly, it was, you know, probably not that long ago.
Mm-hmm. You've got Art, you've got Gerald. Papi is a very young Polish Protoss who's actually becoming very good too. And that poor kid, by the way, 2 seasons in a row, Cats, he was 1 map away from qualifying for the DreamHack Masters. It's actually really sad. I hope that we can.
Who kicked him out?
Papi. Say again?
Do you know who kicked him out this season? Who denied him?
Seasons, not this one. I don't know who it was. Last season it was Goblin. I know that much. This time I know that he, I don't know, 1 map away. Maybe it was Ziggy, actually, but I'm not sure.
Ooh. Oh, wow, Krystianer. Very good spotting of that. Oh, very nice job there by Krystianer to get his Nexus situated.
There's 1 Oracle that's going to be annoying in the natural. Drops the Revelation. MaNa, his units have not been spotted yet, but okay, gets a kill on a pylon. That's nice. His Oracle's going to show up too. They're going to try to get a little bit of economic damage. MaNa's finding some decent pickups here, but obviously a Zealot or 2 is not really going to make the difference. Getting a Sentry is nice. And the fact that these Oracles are still alive, that's real nice for them.
Yeah, also spending a lot of force field energy there. So there's only like a little bit of energy left on that Sentry for a Guardian Shield potentially. And that's about it. MaNa keeping good tabs of Krystianer as well with the Revelations. And now, yeah, he's just going to be chilling. I think that MaNa has done a very good job of stabilizing in spite of kind of lagging behind in economy. And having a little bit of a rough start. I think this game is just about even now.
It is pretty even, but I also still think that Krystianer is slightly in the driver's seat because he is a base ahead. MaNa is doing a really good job in making this game a little bit scrappy and letting his multitasking shine. A couple probes here, a couple probes there. He's definitely being very annoying, but I feel that Krystianer is gearing up for a pretty powerful attack. As soon as he has a few probes up and running at this 4th base, I think he can just queue up the Prism and he can decide to go for it. Wow, okay. MaNa is making the call to go for the double Robo and the Robo Bay, which means that he's like, all right, I'm not going to go up to 4 bases for quite some time. I'm just going to try to stabilize on 3. And now I really wonder if Krystianer is going to try to go a little bit crazy and try to kill a 3-base Protoss while being on 4 bases himself, or if he has the comfort to actually drop a Robo Bay and a robotics facility himself. I honestly can't remember watching Krystianer play with Disruptors, so I think the first one is going to be the most logical option.
All right, MaNa, you don't want to drop that Nexus, but he will. It was already queued. Instant cancel is forced. But yeah, you're right. And maybe it's the reputation that MaNa is playing off of, just like the fact that Krystianer is a very aggressive Protoss. And look, even the wall of, right? Like he has created a lot of chokes where his stalkers are going to shine and the Zealots of Krystianer are not going to be as impactful. Let's see what Krystianer can do. He does have a very sizable army. The Disruptors are not yet out, but they are in production. And the Zealots will find a charge. Battery overcharge already in the back, however, Roddy. So this is looking like MaNa might be able to hold, but more Zealots coming in.
Oh, more Zealots coming in. These Archons still have a lot of HP. MaNa has 2 Disruptors on the way. He needs to shoot at the Archons. Go for the kill. Oh, he missed! He missed! Good splits, of course, by Krystianer, but that's a big deal. Now, Krystianer is running a little bit low on Stalkers himself. The Stalkers have a lot of micro potential. There are extra Zealots coming in. Krystianer has some money in the bank, but he knows... Oh, can MaNa forward blink kill the Prism? Yes, he does. That is massive. Well done by MaNa. Wow, great hold. Got a little bit scary. Krystianer's got a lot of money. He could easily play the same game as MaNa is playing right now. Even if you're behind in Disruptors, he could even go triple rubber, right? That's something that Zest would do, I feel like. If it's like, oh, okay, I'm forced to play Disruptors, but I almost never, ever see Krystianer with Disruptors. So I have the feeling that he just really hates playing with them.
Yeah, he would probably be playing out of his comfort zone, but we saw how ready MaNa was. I mean, he didn't have a ton of units, and if they fight an open field, then Krystianer surely wrecks him. But as it stands, and with that SimCity and the defender's advantage, MaNa manages to defend. This is a nice run from Krystianer. Will force another cancel on the Nexus, and that will serve to stabilize him as he's already taking his 5th base himself.
Yeah, that's very sick, man. These Zealots just kind of sneak through. I don't think MaNa really expected ever to just deal with a couple of random Zealots, because in his mind, that should not have worked. Now, MaNa seems like he wants to make some magic happen. He knows that he's got a Disruptor advantage. Krystianer has no Disruptors. He's going to fire a couple of Novas. Krystianer not paying attention. Good shots, but there's also a Prism that's heading towards the main base of MaNa, and Krystianer does have more gateways and just the option to spam an insane amount of units.
Yeah, at the same time, MaNa does have a very sizable force of Stalkers on the side of Krystianer, and to be honest, without Disruptors, MaNa just kind of has a free pass to continue to make Stalkers because they're gonna just grow. The surface area is gonna be denied for those Zealots. He's just gonna be able to blink micro them away, kite the Archons forever. I feel like you have to be willing to play Disruptors if your opponent won't ever transition out of Stalkers, right?
Yeah, well, it's a little bit too late now. Krystianer just needs to focus on spending his money. The War Prism in the main base really didn't do a whole lot because there was a battery overcharge and a couple of cannons. MaNa is controlling his army real well, and this seems to be a W for MaNa here in the first game. He was down a base. He was down economically for the majority of this game, but he is able to stabilize on 3 bases and get that smooth transition into Disruptors. And then landing the shots when Krystianer wasn't paying attention. Well done. It's safe to say you had to work for it, Kat.
Yeah, most definitely. But again, I think you nailed it, Roddy. The fact that you've never seen Krystianer play with Disruptors and he seemed unwilling to do that. I mean, how do you ever win? You have to wait for MaNa to take a 4th maybe and engage out in the open with a ton of Zealots and then just play for that same play over and over. I don't know otherwise how you... Yeah, go on.
Well, like Romanticide is obviously a bit unique, right? That's probably the best defensive map. It's like our old Death Aura, where it's like, okay, if you really want to turtle on 3 bases, you can. I think if that attack happens on any other map, it actually becomes so much harder for MaNa to stabilize in that phase in the game with just Stalkers and Disruptors on the way and a couple of batteries against all these Zealots, Archons. Like, if that would have happened on Jagannatha or on Lightshade, I actually think the attack does work. And I mean, it's kind of funny because Krystianer, I think, is pretty good with Disruptors in PvT. I do see him blow up some armies of the Muslim quite frequently, actually, which makes him a little upset, and it sparks joy for me. Yeah, in PvP, I don't know, maybe he just hates fighting fire with fire or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. And even on Romanticide, like I was saying at the 4th, I think that would have been a completely different fight, right? But in so long as MaNa has the option to turtle up in 3 bases, this map is a little bit more open, I guess, at the 3rd either way. So maybe Krystianer style can prevail without Disruptors. But yeah, I think it's scary to me when a player is unwilling to use some of the tools in their toolkit.
Yep, but I mean, he did get a victory over Showtime, so I'm not gonna lecture Krystianer on PvP. That's pretty good. And I think it's hard to feel really comfortable in every aspect of PvP because it's a very complex matchup. Even the first 3 or 4 minutes, like so many games just end because of build orders, not scouting things, or a couple of adepts sneaking in, that I think it is really hard to feel 10 out of 10 in every single part of this matchup. Let's see what this man has in store for us here in Game 2. I'm sure that Gongfu is cheering him on and is a little upset that he didn't manage to close out Game 1 after things were going quite well for him. This is a young Polish brothers living in Germany, Krystianer.
And in the top right-hand side, it is the Polish Protoss also from Team Liquid, actually. It is MaNa. I was like, which team? It must be a small team.
I mean, in your defense, he recently joined.
He recently joined, yeah.
Krystianer playing for Blazer, by the way. I did not mention that. Sometimes I like to mention where they live. I don't know. Switch it up a little, mate.
For sure. All right, so 2 gateways going down on either side. The gas is pretty similarly timed. Nothing too crazy. We're about waiting to see what the first 2 units are going to be from either side. But no player taking any major risks so far. Krystianer does have a probe out. Is he looking for a proxy or yeah, it looks like it, right?
Could very well be. Could of course be a fake, but Krystianer is no stranger to actually proxying things in PvP. I've seen him do his fair share of 3 gates or the 3-gate robo. It has fallen out of the meta a little bit, but there are still people who love to do it, and I still think it's powerful.
All right, we'll see what he decides to do with that pylon. Very difficult to say, given the location. I think it's not offering much, but yeah, since the probe has left the location, it seems like it's just a fake. And it's actually Krystianer opening with the Sentry Stalker this time around, whereas MaNa is going to go for the 2 Stalkers. I think 4 Stalkers on this map without a ramp could definitely do some damage poking forward against this type of opener if Krystianer especially doesn't follow up with additional units after this or only makes 1 unit perhaps.
Or like just not building a shield battery. Like if Krystianer stands on the low ground with 3 Stalkers and a Sentry and MaNa walks towards him with 4 Stalkers, there is a lot more micro potential in the 4 Stalkers, and MaNa is actually queuing up the Robo at home and the 3rd gateway, so he will go for the 3-gate Robo. But it's in defensive in a way, but obviously this is meant to be aggressive. MaNa is going to queue up the Prism. I don't think he's going to make it Immortal. I think it's just pure gateway aggression. And yeah, if Krystianer goes for the expand, he does build the battery. It's pretty hard to defend. We'll see if Krystianer can weather the storm or not, but I don't hate this in theory for MaNa, but his hallucinated Phoenix Scout is very important. MaNa really wants to deny this scout from entering his main base. Krystianer really wants to know what he's up against. MaNa sees it. MaNa kind of gets a couple shots, but he cannot hide the fact that he doesn't have an expand.
Oh.
I don't know why Krystianer would ever stop. I was about to say, gotta go to the main, mate.
Yeah, both players were giving each other a little bit as MaNa also stopped, just assuming that Krystianer wouldn't. He said, it's past me. Krystianer forgot about it, unfortunately. For MaNa, it will get the full scout. However, this is still a very difficult attack to stop, especially with 2 sentries and the Warp Prism potential to 3 sentries actually, and the Warp Prism potential to out micro those.
It is, but I do think this scout is gigantic, right? Because now Krystianer knows he shouldn't go too crazy on the work production. He's getting a shield battery inside of his main base as well, and he's got his own robo. Now, if I'm Krystianer, I'd probably start off with an Immortal, and after the Immortal, I think I'll make a War Prism. But I wouldn't want to open things up with a Prism defensively. That doesn't make too much sense to me. And the nice thing about this is not necessarily that he's mining more, but it's the fact that Krystianer has twice as many overcharges or obviously chrono boost, and that's so nice for the robotics facility.
All right. Well, let's see what MaNa is able to accomplish. There is a lot of force shields available on those sentries. MaNa looking for the entry into the main instead. The Stalker of Krystianer will spot this play. However, so MaNa has to be pretty careful. There is already a shield battery and an Immortal popping out timely there for Krystianer. So MaNa will be denied entry. We'll see if he decides to drop a Nexus or just commit. Do you feel like you can even drop a Nexus at this point, or is it just full committal?
You can, but not before you at least find some good damage. And that's what MaNa's looking for here. MaNa's trying to kill Stalkers, but he's not able to one-shot them because Battery Overcharge is too damn good. And this attack is not working out at all for MaNa. Actually, it is an absolute disaster. I'm sure that Gangfu is standing up right now. He's clapping because at this point, the hardest part is over for Krystianer. He can make his own Prism. He's so far ahead economically. Obviously, don't lose your Immortal, and I don't think he will lose the Immortal. This one is all over. Krystianer defends the 3-gate Robo from MaNa, ties things up, and we are going to a decider match.
Yeah, so it was MaNa this time around looking for the sneaky win. It didn't pan out for him, and he might regret that later if he ends up losing the series. But we'll see. I mean, this third map is going to be the decider. We were all expecting a 2-1 in favor of MaNa. We'll see if that comes to fruition. Krystianer certainly looking like he's capable of defending very well. And the third map will be Beckett, actually. Damn.
Obviously, guys, looking back at it, that maybe looked a little bit silly for MaNa because he wasn't even that close. But this is not a build that if you go for 3-gate robot that you really want to go up against. MaNa was hoping to go up against maybe an Oracle opening or a Depths again because he even had his shield battery in his main mineral line. So there are a lot of scenarios where this just plays out a lot better for MaNa. The worst scenario is his opponent getting a very early scout over the Hallucinate Sentry, getting a defensive battery early on so your initial Stalkers can't do anything. It's just MaNa can't really win there. Krystianer can only lose, but Krystianer didn't lose. He popped a good overcharge, and every volley for MaNa needs to be a one-shot, one-kill kind of volley. The moment you volley twice on 2 different Stalkers and they both get healed up by the overcharge battery, it's just all over. There's no way to win anymore.
Yes, indeed. So Beckett will be the final map, and it's going to be a pretty exciting one. MaNa had some pretty cool PvC strategies on this map. We'll see if he has also some PvP strategies. Do you find that given the short rush distance of this map, that there can be something sneakier in PvP than normal, or something is a little bit stronger than normal?
Well, we saw in NA PvP Trigger against M. Canning some crazy proxy Void Race here, and that was not the best Void Rush I've ever seen, but it did work. Adepts obviously have some potential here, but even just one base blink and stuff like that, it shouldn't work at the highest level. But on this map, you can definitely get away with a lot of things. I cannot imagine, after playing weeks of StarCraft, the conclusion of your group stage, whether or not you will make it to the playoffs, comes down to one map. PvP on Beckett Industries. That seems criminal to me, cats, but we are just gonna sit back and enjoy it. This man will only enjoy it if it ends in a W for him. Our Polish Protoss bottom left side, representing Team Liquid, is MaNa.
And in the top right-hand side for Blazer, it is Krystianer. Yeah, especially like Sue was mentioning, it seems like Krystianer has had the better end of the last few altercations with MaNa. So, I mean, if you're MaNa, those are probably playing in your head as well, right? Like, I'm sure there were a lot of close series there. You've got to be thinking, is history going to repeat itself? Or at least as far as the last few times are concerned.
Yeah, yes and no. Like, I think a lot of the results, you have to really look at when they took place, right? If it's a random series, like one of them was a best of one of them is in the European Pro Tour Weekly, and sure, you want to win those, but that's not the same as this one. This is literally MaNa's playoffs are on the line. He had 2.5 days to get ready for it. Like, this is the biggest series that he has played against Krystianer in a while, and I don't really think he gives a damn about losing the tinier ones. This is one, though, that if he does lose it, he will remember that for a very long time.
All right. So you don't think he's thinking about the potential of losing to Krystianer? I mean, no. Personally, I have always felt like, you know, there are players that I play against, even if it's on the ladder, I'll know whether, you know, they have beaten me recently or how I fare against them. And yeah, that's a difficult feeling to shake, at least for me. But maybe MaNa's different.
No, I do know what you mean. Like, if I play against someone that has beat me the last 3 times, you also remember that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's sure, but I think this series is bigger than that. I don't think MaNa is concerned about any of that. I think MaNa is just concerned. Like, we're not talking about someone who's new, right? MaNa is an absolute veteran. He has won big international tournaments. He's been around for 9-10 years, has played thousands and thousands of competitive games. I don't think he's nervous about this match because he has lost the best of one against Krystianer in an online tournament. I think he's just nervous for the stakes because this is a very big best of 3.
All right, Krystianer's gonna open with a Stalker and a Sentry as well. So pretty similar to last game. He will be getting that scout early.
MaNa still has a probe scouting on the top left side. That battery's a little bit late. If I'm MaNa and I get an immediate cancel on the battery, this is Beckett. Oh, no cancel there by Krystianer. That's very big too. 75 minerals down the drain. MaNa has a lot of micro potential in his 4 Stalkers, but Stalker number 3 and 4, they actually kind of chilled at home. Imagine if these Stalkers would have ran towards the other side of the map immediately, Cats, and MaNa has the potential right now to poke with 4 Stalkers. I don't want to say game-ending damage, but that'd be really, really, really good for MaNa.
Yeah, very difficult to stop with those 2 sentries in play, as they have a lot less firepower than the Stalkers, obviously. MaNa is also looking to proxy something, and dropping a Twilight Council back at home as well.
Yeah, MaNa needs to be careful now. You don't want to get force-footed in. You cannot out-micro a battery. And that's like the few seconds that these Stalkers were late. I really think they could have been there 5 or 6 seconds earlier. Could have had a big difference, but MaNa wanted to make sure he was bulletproof at home. Warps in 2 Adepts in the top side. If those 2 Adepts can sneak into the main base, that would be the victory that MaNa is looking for. So far, it's still a good start for our Polish veteran, but obviously not as far ahead as I think he could have been.
All right, he does have 2 sentries at home himself. The pylon hasn't been used for anything other than a warping off Adept that will test Krystianer, but without much luck this time around MaNa. And this is the kind of thing that MaNa likes to do. But these 2 Adepts are actually going to get caught, most likely be killed as well.
Yep.
Oh, this is not great.
That is not good. That was a investment that really did not pay for itself. It's not, the biggest of deals. 2 Adepts, 4 or 5 minutes into the game, but obviously you're hoping for a little bit more, because even just suiciding them into the middle line would have given you at least 1 or 2 probes. Now Krystianer is walking to the other side of the map. He needs to be a little bit careful, because MaNa is the one with quicker blink. But Krystianer does have the sentries too. He's gonna bring the sentries. I mean, shield battery should be, good enough. I don't think MaNa's in that much trouble here. He could land a force field himself. He could zone out a couple of units. This is gonna be a weird fight, Cat.
Yeah, and MaNa actually not really trapping the units, but instead sectioning off some of the army. The shield battery is not really contributing anymore, so shield battery overcharge has to be used instead. A lot of sentries on very low HP, but surviving on the side of Krystianer. The same can be said for that Stalker. All right, 2 of those units get shoved off, and that has to be a big sigh of relief for MaNa. Maybe he can pick off that sentry as well.
Yeah, he can pick off both. Oh, Krystianer dropping a little bit there. Sentries going towards the top and the bottom and back and forth. Does allow MaNa to pick up these final units there as well. I gotta say, a bit of a shaky defense, but MaNa does stabilize, and that's perhaps the most important thing. And look at the production tab. MaNa is going to full send it, 4 extra gateways and a war prism, while Krystianer, he's also getting 4 extra gateways. A little bit later though, MaNa is going to have potentially a lot more Stalkers a bit earlier than his opponent. But the opponent does have the Nexus earlier, so if MaNa is just going to drop the Nexus and not be aggressive, that should actually work out in Krystianer's favor.
Yeah, I was looking at things and I was thinking maybe MaNa has an opening because he stopped producing probes, whereas Krystianer has continued to produce probes. He is going now to 47 after these 2 pop out. MaNa stopped at 41, and Krystianer dropped the Nexus, so I thought, well, there's a lot of extra money there for MaNa potentially. But with him dropping his own Nexus behind him, this becomes a little bit more difficult to make work, perhaps.
Yeah, but MaNa is putting himself in the position, though, that he needs to find good damage with this. Now, he's still going to have these Stalkers a bit earlier, and he's going to have +1 a little bit earlier. This is a very big moment. Will MaNa just blink into the main base and unpower a couple of gateways? Maybe even kill a Forge? MaNa's got +1. Krystianer does not. Here are the Stalkers. Oh, he's got this force field too. Recall immediately, but it's Krystianer recall everything, yes or no? He recalled a lot of units. What is MaNa going to do here? He is just going to trade out against Stalkers and the probes. He won't win the game, but he is dealing some good damage.
Yeah, very, very nice. Leveraging his position as well and using the own structures of Krystianer as force fields so that he can actually pick off and shove off Stalkers before blinking out, taking very good fights here in greater numbers, and now has to know when to blink out, which should be pretty soon here.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that he stuck around that long, but it sort of worked out. While this was going on, MaNa also blinked too. No, careful with your Stalkers there, MaNa. As he's getting very, very, very close towards the units of Krystianer, but the reinforcements have arrived for MaNa, who still has a little advantage. It's 10 against 5 at this point. And he is going to go for the guaranteed damage at the 3rd base of Krystianer. Oh, that was a risky one, but I do think it really worked out for MaNa.
Yeah, it really did. There's still similar numbers here. A lot of those stalkers for MaNa bruised. He does have one extra stalker, so identifying that he perhaps can stick a little bit further in there. And now with the reinforcements as well, MaNa feels confident. Could even see him blink forward. Perhaps that is a very good snipe on the warp prism potential. The zealots are being warped in for buffer. And with that and a small probe pool, Krystianer will fend off for now, but MaNa, 22 supply ahead.
Yep. Already ahead in workers now as well. So MaNa doesn't even need to win the game here. He's obviously doing a good job. He's getting real close to actually winning the game. Could snipe the prism if he wants. He's got his own slow zealot showing up. So both of them made a tiny investment in a few slow zealots. That shield battery is not done yet. And Krystianer is just too low on units. MaNa gets the big W that he was looking